Started Thursday night. Los Angeles Chargers 34-27 over the Denver Broncos. Huge game with AFC playoff implications. Both teams now 9-6. Broncos had it in hand early on, but the fair catch free kick, first one since 1976 that the Chargers hit, turned the whole thing around.
First one made, yeah. Jim Harbaugh, I saw saying this is his favorite rule in football. He's apparently been trying to get one of these like for the last decade or so. Attempted one back when he was 49ers coach. I mean, okay, I don't quite understand why this would be your favorite rule ever as a coach. It's
because he's Jim Harbaugh, man. That's what Jim Harbaugh does.
I mean, it's fine. This was the first, like I'd seen a couple of these attempted before. This was the first one I can remember in like fairly makeable, range. Like 57 yards these days is fairly.
Well, they
attainable.
needed the fair catch interference penalty.
Yes,
that was what balanced it out.
That's why. Like normally you're seeing these just at the end of the kick, and that makes it like a 70-yard attempt, and it's like, I mean, at some point, Brandon Aubrey or whatever is going to nail one from 70, but it's still a massive outlier at this stage. 57 though, you're like, that's like a lot of kickers can make a 57-yard kick.
Yeah, so that was a key point in the game. It was 21-10 going into the half. That made it 21-13. And, Herbert went on that second half run where he started making some big-time throws. Lad McConkey, another nice game for him with 6 catches for 87 yards. And Chargers get the win, so they're currently right ahead of the Broncos, 6 seed. Broncos are the 7. Both teams pretty much in charge of their own playoff, hopes here. Every other team in the AFC kind of needs a miracle that includes one of these two teams collapsing. So it was a big game, but a little bit bigger for the Chargers, who came in a game behind the Broncos.
Yeah, both teams I think are still in pretty good shape. Like all of the teams behind them, all of the in the hunt teams won yesterday, right? So all the Miami, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, they all at least kept the pressure on, but both these teams are still a couple of games. The only one is a Denver schedule. Like if you look at the sort of, in order for the Bengals to make the playoffs, they need to win out, and one of Denver and the Chargers needs to lose out. Denver's at least is, because one of those games is against Cincinnati. So right. Assuming you lose that one, that's the same game. Their final game is that Kansas City game that we've been talking about since like late October. Right. That's one that's doable. Like if Kansas City still has things to play for in that final week, which they may well not, that's at least plausible. You lose to Cincinnati because they need the win. That's one of those games. And then if you don't get the win against the Chiefs, that is at least plausible, if still unlikely.
Yeah, it's a huge game this week, Bengals and Broncos. And then if the Chiefs win on Christmas, they're not playing for anything week 18. So they're just one win away from clinching the number 1 seed. So there's a chance. Andy Reid has a history of resting his starters, so that's a likely outcome for this Broncos Week 18
But
game.
that is like a really interesting. We've been talking again since October about the potential peripheral things on the line in that final game that the Chiefs probably don't think about, but could actually come back to haunt them. Like if you're in a game where if you try, you might put Denver into the postseason, and Denver's actually quite a dangerous opponent for you. And if you don't try, you might let Cincinnati into the postseason, and they're the one team historically that's actually scary to Kansas City, that actually seems to have the ability to go toe-to-toe with them. Now, it's a different Bengals team this year. I don't think it's quite the same thing. But can you imagine going into that game for Kansas City if, theoretically nothing is on the line for them, but you kind of have that option, like which one of these teams do we actually want to let into the postseason?
Yeah, as the number 1 seed, I don't think they care that much.
Right.
If they have the 1 clinched, I don't think they're caring.
I don't think they do either, but it will be like, that's the kind of thing where, like the Raiders yesterday, right? Like when we get to March and April, we're going to be talking about that game potentially and what they did to their own draft pick way more than we are right now. That's another one where when we get through to the divisional round of the playoffs or the AFC Championship game, we might be talking about what Kansas City did in the final week of the regular season.
All right, man. Anything else on Broncos Chargers here today?
Not really. Both defenses, I think, had periods in that game where they looked good. We had that streak where Justin Herbert caught fire, but again, wasn't the whole game. Second week in a row, though, I think overall, you were kind of asking what's happened to the Chargers defense. It's kind of gone AWOL the last couple of weeks from, again, before Baker Mayfield showed up against them. They were the league's #1 defense, and it hasn't been that for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Denver was running the ball pretty effectively. I mean, Denver came out smoking. Chargers played a lot better in the second half there. But yeah, both defenses underwhelmed a little bit. Like I said, indoor-ish type of game. I know there's little opening, but indoor-ish type of game there where it just kind of played like that, you know?
Yep. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.